Bonjour, welcome back to the Quiksilver Pro. Round 2, heat number 1 is the moment we've been waiting for. Kelly Slater, 11-time world champ, current world number 2, taking on one of the most exciting surfers on the planet, Dane Reynolds, the wild card once again here at the Quiksilver Pro. They'll have 30 minutes scored on their top 2. Winner moves on to round 3. Joe Turpel alongside Martin Potter. Crazy to see this heat match up so quickly in round 2 as we reflect back on that final they had together on this beach break back in 2012.
Yeah, you know, Dane Reynolds obviously coming in as a wild card. You know, he gets the top guys. So losing to Gabriel Medina, Kelly not managing to win his heat. So these guys matching up in round number 2. This was a final 2 years ago, and what a final it was too. Dane Reynolds was in good form that year, and Kelly Slater finally managed to win this event for the first time. Joe, little bit of different conditions here. Is it going to suit Kelly, or is it going to play into Dane's hands?
Well, a huge role for Kelly Slater in the world title race. Current world number 2, waiting for his first win of the season as he has a challenging draw with Dane Reynolds in this matchup. You can see that offshore wind still on hand as we see Kelly still positioning himself in the lineup, waiting for his first wave to come through. He'll be patient and let this one roll through, Potts.
Yeah, you know, there's going to be a real battle here for wave selection. I don't know whether, you know, is it going to play into Dane's hands with the aerial maneuvers with that offshore conditions? It's going to prove pretty tricky here to get those aerial maneuvers done. Kelly Slater, is he going to take to the air like he's been doing so far in this event and post some big scores? So it's going to be a good battle. You can see the boys both sort of keeping their distance to kick things off.
Well, Dane Reynolds is playing this role as a spoiler over the last few seasons as a wild card. He's been given that gift at Snapper Rocks, at France, obviously making a final, which is dangerous for a wild card performance, always taking on top seeds. He's also had it at lower trestles in the past. You know, before, we used to see him on tour full time, and he was trying to adjust to that whole role of having such a high profile. He put more pressure on himself to perform than almost everyone else did.
Joe, he was up to number 4 in the world at one stage. So, you know, people question his competitiveness. They question his ability to be able to compete, and well, he did. You know, he was quite successful there for a period of time, but deciding to step away from that competitive side of things and take the free surf route. But Dane Reynolds, always exciting to watch, especially when he comes up against the best in the world. He's got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Here comes the first wave. Slater gets it, rips one in the pocket. He'll get down the line now. He has a ton of speed, clear for takeoff. Full rotation attempt, inverted, is incomplete. Reynolds looking to answer back. Big rip on the forehand section. And now Reynolds looking for a little bit of a throw tail reverse. He'll pull his around for the completion, and the crowd loves it.
Kelly's got to be careful here. He can't get into a sword fight with Dane Reynolds when it comes to the aerial maneuvers. Dane, I think, has probably got it over Kelly in that respect. Kelly's got to just out-surf him. He's got to stick to the water. Kelly's got the most incredible forehand slashing maneuvers. You can see him here. He races down the line and goes for broke there, landing out on the flats. That's a really dangerous maneuver there for Kelly Slater. Pulled one off yesterday that was crazy. You can see how he punts out towards the beach using that offshore wind with a double grab again. He's literally upside down and comes down a little awkward there. So Kelly, got to be careful he doesn't hurt himself doing those. Dane Reynolds, on the other hand, opens up with a couple of big turns, some slashing maneuvers. Kelly looks a little lighter on his feet, but Dane better in the air. And you can see there by pulling that one off. So Dane Reynolds quite possibly is going to take the early lead. Let's have a look at another. Watch how he pushes the board out towards the beach using that wind. No hands in an offshore wind. That's a pretty good technique there from Dane Reynolds.
One of the best in the business when it comes to performing above the lip. You don't really need air wind for Dane Reynolds to pull that one off. You can see he struggled for the landing as he comes out of it to force the completion. Kelly starts with a 2.0. Dane should be a bit higher with now 24 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock. It seems like in the last few years, Potts, Kelly kind of has a go-to air, kind of a signature air for the whole year. A few years back, remember, he was doing a bunch of alley-oops, huge ones in competition. Then back of the year where we had New York on tour, he was doing that frontside full rotation into the flats. He did that same air at the Bell's Bowl. This year, it seems like he's going for that same double grab on the toe side rail.
Yeah, I mean, he's always looking for something new, isn't he? I mean, both those aerial maneuvers that you mentioned in New York and Bells Beach, both rewarded 10 points for. So, you know, he's got the game.
Here comes Kelly Slater. Already has a 2.0. Big bottom turn. Nice carve to start. Has the lip and jams it. Off the bottom, straight up vert. 3 solid maneuvers for Slater. Hacking away off the top, and now he's looking for a finish. Still looking for it down the line, building momentum, and he'll set the rail for a roundhouse cutback. Rebounds that tight inside section.
I like that. I like the fact that he surfed that wave. Didn't look for the air. Kept the board on the face of the water and absolutely demolished that wave. Look at this thing. Beautiful wave. Stands up for Kelly. Opens up with a big slashing turn. Just waiting for it to build up again right there. Just tags it another time. Perfect timing for Kelly Slater. Great momentum on this wave as he just manages to find a bonus little section as he races down the line here and goes into a nice wraparound cutback. So Kelly Slater surfing that wave probably as good as you could, and is going to post a really good score. Look at the technique here off the bottom. You watch he sort of gets that head and shoulders, twists that body around there, and just literally pushes that back foot and extends that back leg there, right, straightens it up right there. Just the weight distribution of Kelly Slater is so perfect. Puts his weight from the back foot all the way over to the front foot and lets that board come around. Great technique from the 11 times world champion.
So started with the 2.0. That'll be his second scoring ride. Anticipating the opening number to drop in for Dane Reynolds. Now 22 minutes on the clock. Remember, Kelly won this event over Dane in the final just a couple of years ago. Talk about France not being Kelly's pet event when you compare his stats to a place like Lower Trestles where we just were for the Hurley Pro. Thing is, for Kelly, he has made 3 finals out here.
Yep.
That's a big accomplishment for most guys on tour, but for Kelly, it's kind of a low stat, losing those finals in the past, one to Mick Fanning and then one to Ace Buchan back in 2008.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, in saying that it's not his pet event, he's still got some good results here, Joe.
Well, current world number 2 on the women's side, Stephanie Gilmore, just took a win into the quarter. She's with Pete Mel.
Thank you, Joe. So, Stephanie, we talked earlier in regards to your scores. They were pretty good, high 8s, and you should be pleased with that performance.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased. Those first 2 waves that Lakey got, I was sort of frustrated with myself because I let her have the inside at the start, and she got that really good wave. And the heats before us seemed like the waves were really short and fast, and they were kind of struggling to get multiple maneuvers in. But Lakey's first wave, I was really worried that she got some really high scores and I was going to be left behind. But yeah, I'm happy that I was able to find a couple of waves that really suit my style of surfing, just small little right-handers. That's pretty much what I grew up on, and I feel very confident when the waves are like that in competition.
And I got to ask you, you're in the world title talks. Last year probably wasn't the case, but this year you're back in there. Do you feel comfortable, being in that talk, or does it put pressure on yourself, or do you like this?
I like it. It's pretty familiar for me to be in this area. I know that being in the lead is kind of hard because you're trying to defend something, but I actually prefer to be behind and sort of on the attack. I feel like the pressure is sort of on the other girls to really keep up their consistently really good performances, and I'm trying to just improve on my stuff. So yeah, it's a nice position to be in, that's for sure.
Formula's working. Into the quarterfinals for Stephanie Gilmore.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Steph, for putting on an amazing performance. Had Lakey comboed towards the tail end of that round 4 clash. Now the quarterfinals are stacked for the ROXY Pro pots. The tough side of the draw to start with the rookie DeFay with Malia Manuel, but all the top 4 alive and well, as we'll see when they get back in the lineup later on this week.
Yep, the top 4 have got each other too. Sally and Tyler, Steph and Carissa. That's going to be a bit of a worry there. You're looking at Courtney, Bianca, Malia and Joanne. There could be some spoilers there. We could see a little bit of an upset.
Huge matchups on paper for the women's side. Back to this one with Slater on wave number 3. Looking for something to start off with. Goes for the front side float. Off the bottom. Flies off the top with that aerial. Offshore whim takes him out. So now Dane with a big opportunity goes for the tail high reverse, landing in the flats tail first, an awkward positioning, and he's down back-to-back falls from Kelly to Dane, and now numbers are drifting in. Reynolds started with a 6.67.
Yeah, Dane's going to go to the air. That's his go-to thing when he comes up against the top guys. Kelly's got to just try and outsurf him. 8.0 for Kelly Slater. So Kelly moves back into the lead. Have a look at that, standing room only here at the Quiksilver Pro France. These people have all come down here to watch this, both the men's and women's compete today. It's Saturday And it is around about lunchtime, Joe. It is a full house.
Amazing to see the numbers down here on the beach, and it's really hard to get parking down here. It's a Saturday. The reason why the parking lot's jammed is most of them don't leave. They have some of the best vans and RV setups right in the parking lot. They pack food and stay for the entire waiting period of the Quiksilver and ROXY Pro, and this was the moment they wanted to see. Two of the best in the world battling. Kelly and Dane, have had a kind of a cool rivalry even outside of the jersey. Potts, remember when Dane, before he was on tour, he's always put as one of the best free surfers of all time. He used to be a little bit critical of the airs that Kelly was doing back when he was doing wheelie airs a lot, like back in the day. Kelly liked him, used him to his advantage, but Dane would be, quoted saying he didn't like him, and it created this fun, progressive rivalry between the two.
Yeah, like Kelly needs a bit of a push, doesn't he? I mean, the guy's so competitive.
Having a look, Kelly Slater sets up with a nice gouge off the top. Clean drive off the bottom for a big second hook. Tail drifting snap. Whips one off the top, and now he'll wrap it away with a frontside cutback. Always due for a huge performance, showing his carving abilities from start to finish.
This is what Kelly's got to do, Joe. He's got to just get two really good waves under his belt. Tags that one nicely there. This is the maneuver right here where all the points are going to come from. Just unloads a big snapping maneuver, gets that tail right around, and then straight into it. Great transition, great timing there on that end section. So Kelly, he's going to put a bit of pressure on Dane Reynolds, who at the moment is just looking for a 3.34. But that is going to be another good score from him. He's going to back that 8-point ride up. And now Dane Reynolds is going to be searching for something special. And that's what Kelly's got to do. Put the pressure on Dane to have to do something special. Now Dane is going to go above the lip and try and do one of those crazy airs.
We can see the score line now, Potts. An 8 and a 2 for Kelly. That 2 will be gone in a second after that last wave. Dane Reynolds started with a 6.67, so already trailing behind at this point in the heat. We have Strader and Ronnie on the desk. And remember, Ronnie, back when they had a final out here in France, the conditions were much different. It was really perfect tubes back then.
Yeah, and Kelly picked off a couple of gem waves in that final to get the jump on Dane. Dane ended up fighting back and having a pretty healthy heat score total himself in that heat, but Kelly has been extremely dominant over Dane in the past. 10 previous meetings, Strider.
Yeah, and not one win for Dane, so we'll see if Dane can turn the tides here. I mean, it's got to be in the back of your head. I haven't beat this guy. And for Kelly, he's a numbers guy, so he's thinking, wow, is this time for me? Is he going to take me down this time? He's always into those little numbers and statistics.
A couple of times in this event already, we've seen Kelly sort of start off his heat looking to go to the air and unsuccessful at different times. He did land a huge aerial for a 9-point ride against Matt Wilkins in his heat, but didn't progress through. On his first wave here, we saw him try and take to the air. It was when he actually kept his board in the water that he was able to put a big score on the board.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ross was talking about this morning how he just needs to be on the face and do those turns and show the solid fundamentals of his surfing. And then once he's got the scores he needs to get up above the lip, and I think he's going to do that now.
I think, Martin, Joe, if you don't have Dane Reynolds comboed, you're always in danger of losing the heat to him, because he does have the kind of turns that can quickly flick a heat.
That's such a fair call, Ronnie. Remember 9.87 in Puerto Rico for Dane Reynolds on one maneuver, as we now see Kelly going for the sky, full rotation punt without a problem on a challenging section. Wave before was a 6.40 for the one he finished with the roundhouse. Let's take another look at the air, Potts.
Yeah, well, we know Kelly's strategy. He's got his 2-wave total now. He's going to go for it, throwing that board out towards the beach there, using the wind to his advantage and coming out without a grab. And that's a difficult thing to do here, Joe. With that offshore wind, you can see how he projects his board out towards the beach, uses that wind to his advantage. It keeps his board to his feet. The momentum brings him all the way around and lands absolutely perfect. Nice and soft compared to the other landing that he had that was quite abrupt. So Kelly Slater, a 6.4 on that last wave. He's going to try and get some big airs now and really sort of try and put Dane Reynolds in a combo. As Ronnie said, Dane Reynolds is capable of massive things, so really Kelly does have to put him in that combo situation to be safe.
As we look back in history, just at the Quiksilver Pro France with Kelly Slater, we can see last year he's beat by Toledo in the quarterfinals. His win came the year before over Dane, lost in the quarters to Medina, and then also had a final with Mick Fanning back in 2010 where he finished runner-up. As we see 14 on the clock, Kelly still out in front. Dane needs a 7.74. We just lost Lakey Peterson from the draw, losing to Stephanie Gilmore. and she's waiting, standing by downstairs with Rosie.
Thank you so much, yeah, Lakey Peterson, you've really become one of the girls that's really shaking up the top tier of girls. On the world tour, you know, you perform so well under pressure. You find that coming up against the likes of Carissa and Steph, really you have to pick your game up, and you kind of revel in that kind of high-pressure situation.
Yeah, I've had some crazy round 9 heats the last couple events. Obviously coming up against Carissa at lowers, and then Steph here. I guess it's just, yeah, you have to sort of just rise to the occasion and go for broke. And for me, honestly, I'm just trying to focus on continuing to get better at my surfing and my game, and just not focusing on them too much, I guess, not overthinking what they're doing. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bummer to lose in that round for where I'm at right now in the ratings. You know, like getting that top 5 or whatever, that would be nice. But there's still 2 more events, and I feel like I'm surfing really good. I don't know. Heats aren't coming together fully for me right now. So just keep plugging away.
Well, enjoy your time in France, and we really look forward to seeing you in Portugal. Joe.
Thanks, Rosie. Lakey taking the time to tell us about that heat with Stephanie Gilmore. She's had some heavy rounds against the top 4. As we noticed the start of the season, Pots, how much the top 4 had a stranglehold on the rankings. So they barely miss a final series.
Yeah, and you know, in the past, it's always been, you know, in the women's division, there's one girl that's really dominated. You know, if you look back with Frida Zamba, Lisa Anderson, Elaine Beachley, now Steph Gilmore, it's been sort of a one-horse race. This year, it's quite different. We've got 4 girls that are dominating the tour.
Kelly dominating the start of this heat with an 8 and an 8.27 on that full rotation frontside error. Reynolds now needs a 9.6. Remember, he started with a 6.67. Reynolds' whole theme when he came on tour was not to surf safe. He was never trying to milk a score to surf for a 3. He was surfing for 10s every time he went to his feet.
Yeah, and you know, that's probably what's, you know, why Dane Reynolds is such an exciting surfer to watch. You know, he's not the guy that's going to go out and, you know, look for a 5 if he needs one. He's going to look for that something special at all times. So, you know, it's a dangerous way to compete. You won't find the top guys doing that. You know, not this guy coming up, especially Mick Fanning. You know, he surfs smart. He makes sure he gets his scores and posts what he needs to do. And that's what you've got to do as a professional surfer. You've got to build up to your best performances. You can't go out there in round 1 and literally blow up and post 10s. You want to save that for the finals, like Steph Gilmore did in Trestles.
Well, we see Mick Fanning, Potts, standing next to his coach, Phil. They've been out here in the early morning light working on warm-ups. Phil with about 3 jackets on this morning, and always gives him the right words to keep his focus going and get his head on straight. They do some interviews with Phil and some of the big mags in Oz, as we now see.
Photobomb.
Banting. Doesn't look as serious as Fanning at this stage.
Is he photobombing Fanning right now? Classic. You know, what a good kid. He's going to be a great addition to the World Tour. You know, just a really cool guy. His dad, Lenny, is a character as well. Just good hanging out with those two. You know, watching the kid grow up. He's won pretty much everything there is to win in the amateur division. Kind of followed the Gabriel Medina route, where he's won the King of the Groms, the ISA World Juniors. He's winning the QS rankings now. So, you know, it's very, very carbon copy towards what Gabriel Medina's been doing. 2
massive heats to start the Quiksilver Pro. Banting, Fanning next. Still 10 minutes to go with Slater and Reynolds. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to round 2, heat number 1. Beautiful time to be in France. Listen to the music, listen to the sound of the waves. Kelly Slater, Dane Reynolds going back and forth, showing their air game to this massive crowd here in Hossegor. And we have Kelly with the lead at the moment. Reynolds needs to listen to his own music, his own game, and go to the sky to put together a highlight reel, but he's running out of time. 8:30 to go for Dane to save himself in the Quiksilver Pro.
Yeah, you know, I'm sort of pretty excited to watch this. I mean, Dane's, you know, he's running out of time, like you said. He knows he needs a big score, so we're pretty much going to see fireworks on this next wave that Dane Reynolds catches. I just hope that we see a couple of more opportunities for him to answer back to Kelly. Kelly's in a good situation at the moment, but, you know, with Dane Reynolds, anything can happen. I mean, he's posted 9.6 on one maneuver in the past. There's no reason why he can't do it again.
We see these two guys shoulder to shoulder. In Dane Reynolds, the situation remains a 9.6 for him to take the lead off Kelly as time is ticking away. He's only had 2 looks in this 30-minute matchup, a 6.67 on his opener. Remember, Dane off tour, kind of on his own terms, decided he wanted a break from full-time competition. Things have changed in the last couple of seasons. I talked to Al Hunt from the ASP Tour at the start of the season. Dane was the first guy to apply for every Prime event and QS event for 2014. He had a slower start, and he was a little discouraged from competition again. He kind of rerouted midway through.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I would have been really stoked to see Dane Reynolds continue his competitive career. Obviously, didn't like the traveling and everything that goes along with that competitive surfing, but imagine if he had stuck with it. He would have been a seasoned veteran now. He would have, he'd be in that Geordie Smith situation. Who knows how many events he would have won by now. And he would be sort of in the top 5 question in world title, maybe 1 or 2, who knows. So, if Dane Reynolds had have continued his competitive career, we probably would have seen a whole different Dane Reynolds today.
Well, Reynolds with 2 finals in his career, one as a wild card here in France, and one back at Lower Trestles where he finished runner-up to Mick Fanning. Having a look now, Kelly Slater trying to better an 8.0, goes off the bottom, throw tail reverse attempt, he sinks. Priority still with Dane, 6:30 remaining.
Yeah, he's just having a bit of fun now. Knows he's got Dane against the ropes. Just trying to jab away. Still needs to maybe improve on that 8 though. I'm not going to be comfortable, and nor will Kelly, until he needs a combination for Dane to come back. So he knows Dane's capable of big things. Kelly Slater though started off nicely. Just using that rail-to-rail game here just to put the pressure on him. You can see him racing down the line and then goes to the air there. That was a dangerous maneuver from Kelly Slater.
And then Dane Reynolds to answer back. He was effective in pulling off a finish. He got a big carve in the hook and then went for a big finishing move, kicking that tail high towards the beach. It was an awkward landing. Reynolds was able to pull it off for a 6.67.
Dane may be a little bit better in the air than Kelly Slater, but Kelly, tell you what, he is no slouch, and this is the kind of surfing I want to see him do. Just keep the board on the water and just focus on those big rail carving maneuvers. One of the best at it. Bangs it through the lip again. This was Kelly's 8.0 that got really the ball rolling for Kelly. And he found a nice little bonus section here. Great wave selection from Kelly. He backed that up with an 8.27 air reverse.
So you get back to live action. Reynolds with a backside jam off the top. Another big rip off the lip. Backside rock and roll float. He ends up going down on the finishing move. He needed to pull that one off. We hit the 5-minute warning. And Reynolds still chasing a 9.6. Let's take another look.
Yeah, Dane using his backhand here. Just beautiful extension on that first turn. Losing the fins out the back. And then just finishing with a little floater there. So not going to be up in that 9-point range for Dane, but just trying to get the ball rolling. He's only got 2 waves under his belt. He wants to try and find some momentum, try and find some rhythm. And Kelly Slater now with priority. It's going to be interesting to see if Kelly sort of just lets Dane do his own thing.
As we check out the board breakdown, Kelly and Dane both using Channel Island surfboards as their surfboard sponsor. Kelly's on the Fred Rebel model, and it's epoxy. That's the board that Connor Coffin worked on. 5'9", 18 1/4, 2 1/4. As we see him with a round tail compared to Reynolds' surfboard, 5'11", over 19 inches wide, almost 2.5 inches thick, with a lot more volume, 30.5 on the volume of squash tail. Completely different equipment, Potts.
Yeah, Dane a bit of a, he's a bigger boy than Kelly. Kelly likes that really light, sensitive feel under his feet. Dane obviously opting for a bit more foam, get that speed down the line and boost those airs. So 2 different boards, 2 different approaches, and that's what we've seen so far.
I have so many boards in their quiver. Channel Island Surfboards has Travis Lee on hand, and he had a ton of boards for Dane, from 6.0s to 5.8s, for different models, from the G-Rabbit to the Zeus. As we see our competitor coming out next, number 1 on the QS. Matt Banting has his hands full with 3-time world champ Mick Fanning.
Rematch from the Gold Coast. And Mick Fanning came out on top, so it's going to be interesting to see if Matty Banting can even up that score. He's obviously got a lot more confidence at this stage of the year than he did in the beginning. Leading those QS rankings, knowing that he's going to be here next year as a full-time top 32 guy. Exciting times in round 2. Big for the world title race. Kelly, world number 2. So far, so good against Dane. Dane needing a 9.6. He's a guy that's not afraid to go for broke. He's used to that on every wave. It's not like he's going to have to change a rhythm in this heat to go for that almost perfect score. No, he's just going to have to play his game, his normal game, his free surf game, what he does every single day, he paddles out. That's what Dane Reynolds is good at. If he tries to change that up, things will fall apart. We see a nice little wave approaching Kelly Slater with priority. Time ticking away, 2 minutes and 35 on the clock. Is Kelly going to let Dane go on this one? Kelly having a look. Yep, says Dane, you can have it.
Dane Reynolds setting this one up. He needs a 9.6. He's going to go for an air straight away into the flats, and he ends up incomplete. 2:20 as he's running out of time. Kelly trying to keep his record perfect over the wild card. Strider and Ronnie were telling us it's 10-0 over Dane in their history. When you go to one-on-one heats, it's 5-0. When you go to round 2, it's 2-0. This could be his third round 2 win in their career.
Yeah. You know, Kelly he's got a better all-round game, and I think that's, you know, put them in the water for a free surf. It might be a little bit of a different story, but, you know, under a heat situation, you've got a time frame, you've got 2 good waves you need to get. You know, with the judges, Kelly's got a way sharper game, and the 11 world titles is basically all you need to look at.
We remember how important this is for Kelly when it comes to Europe. This is sometimes where his shaky results happen. Remember what happened last year, Potts, at Portugal with Frederico Moraes eliminating Kelly in round 2.
You know, notoriously he's had problems with the wild cards, Joe, and you know it's crazy. I think Kelly in the early rounds is probably more vulnerable, but you look at his win-loss ratio from quarterfinals onwards, and it's pretty much the best in the game. So if you're going to get Kelly, it's the early rounds and it's the wild cards that normally do it.
A dangerous wild card for Reynolds, knowing that he's been in the final here in the past. He also made the quarters back in 2008 when he lost to eventual event winner Ace Buchan years ago. Former tour competitor full-time. Always amazing to see him get the wild card opportunity. Hopefully he'll get some big results on the prime season and come back on tour full-time very soon.
It'd be nice to see Dane back. You know, he deserves to be on the big stage. We don't see enough of his surfing. Don't see enough of his surfing under pressure. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see him compete, you know, under pressure in a pressure situation, which kind of what he's got now, but he doesn't really have the pressure because he's a wild card. You know, so you can sort of water off the duck's back for Dane. Looks like Kelly's going to walk away with a win. 25 seconds remaining.
A huge win for Kelly as he'll be reseeded into the next round. The crowd loving the performance. Kelly using his full rotation air to his advantage to get one of his keepers. The single best wave of the heat came on one maneuver. Now a few seconds on the clock. Dane might have one more chance for a 9.6. He'll go for the backhand. Big snap to start. Needs something big. The wave's going gutless. Reaches for the backside air, and he has to fly away. Incomplete, and that'll do it for Dane. Kelly, successful. Moving on to round 3.
Yeah, you know, good solid performance from Kelly. I thought, you know, when you looked at this heat on paper, I thought it was going to be a lot closer, but Kelly just in a different league at the moment to Dane. It's hard to come up against someone like Kelly who's on a bit of a roll and try and win that heat in round 2.
Another big heat coming up next. Mick Fanning versus Matt Banting right after this.
Do you like that? Well, if so, subscribe over there and then watch more videos over there. And then tell us your favorite videos down there. It's a 3-step process. Do them all now.